Among the various challenges and crises that the Obama administration is going to be confronting, and those crises have been inherited from the Bush administration and even before that, since the 90s and even beyond. Among those, as we were discussing, is the crisis in Lebanon. Now, the confrontation in Lebanon is an old one, as is the case the Arab-Israeli conflict. It has been at least since the 90s and over the past many years between two camps. One is led by Hezbollah and their allies, the Syrian regime and the Iranian regime, and the local allies on the one hand, and on the other hand, the democracy forces, or at least the political forces that opposes this Hezbollah alliance. Since 2005, since March of 2005, the opposition to Hezbollah is called the March 14, or known internationally as the Cedars Revolution. The situation in Lebanon after May of 2008 is that Hezbollah and its allies have been able to seize the capital, Beirut, by its militia and impose its own political will on the executive branch and on the entire country through diplomatic maneuverings, including pressures from Iran, Syria, and also Qatar, but also on the ground by the fact that Hezbollah is funded by Iran, is armed by Iran, and controls large segments in the Lebanese Republic, and exerts a lot of influence even inside the Lebanese state and inside the Lebanese army. Now, it is said always that Hezbollah has political constituency. Yes, it does. So does Hamas. And the question is going to be, again, these type of jihadi organizations, if we exclude the financial support and the weapon support over a period of time, will they continue to have this kind of political support? We don't know. Experts believe that there will always be a segment of the community, should it be in Gaza or in Lebanon, which are pro-jihadists. They have been indoctrinated. So these will continue to be supportive of Hezbollah, for example, in Lebanon. But will Hezbollah exert a lot of influence over voters if it did not have that much of weapons and kind of money is still a question to be seen. Now, in Lebanon, U.S. policy under the Bush administration has been to support, naturally, the Cedars democratic revolution, because it is calling for the application of the values, of the American and international values, that is to have a country where only the army would be in charge, where there are no militias, and there will be pluralism and freedom. Now, under the Obama administration, the challenge is going to be significant. On the one hand, the U.S. standard policy is to make sure that all militias are disarmed, that the democracy forces in Lebanon will have to be supported. But the issue here is that the Obama administration is heading towards sit-down and discussions, as it was projected and stated, with the Iranian regime, and on many issues in the region, and that would cover Iraq, that would cover Gaza, that would cover even Syria. And it will have to cover Lebanon because Hezbollah is the ally of Iran. So can the Obama administration afford to have one policy in Lebanon, which is to push back on the Iranian influence through Hezbollah, and another policy in the region, which is to sit down with the Iranian regime and cut deals with regard to all these places? We will see. Time is ahead of us. But that is a challenge that we are going to be witnessing, we are going to be seeing evolving, and it's not going to be only what U.S. policy wants or what Iranian policy wants in Lebanon. It's going to be also what Lebanese would want to see happening in Lebanon. Beyond those four crises, Iraq, Afghanistan, Gaza, Hamas, and Israel, and Lebanon and Hezbollah, there are other crises that have appeared and developed under the Bush administration policies in the region, but which are going to come to very important development under the Obama policy. And I will name a few. First one, on a strategic level, is the Iranian plan to obtain nuclear weapons. Without going into the details, there is a commitment by Washington under Obama not to allow Iran to have the nuclear bomb. So that's clear. There is a commitment in Tehran under Khamenei, not just under Ahmadinejad. So the whole theory of maybe the president elected after Ahmadinejad will have a different policy. No, it is a Khamenei, it's an Islamic Republic policy to obtain that weapon for a variety of reasons. So what will the Obama administration do after the sit down, after the talking, after the listening, to deal with the issue? There will be months before this happening, but it is our sense that what has been there as a challenge to the Bush administration is unescapable under the Obama administration. There is no magic here. It's one regime that says, I am building my weapon, and I could negotiate everything except building that weapon. That is going to be very interesting over the next year or two. Beyond Iran, you have a developing situation in Somalia, whereby there is some sort of international consensus, and that consensus is pretty wide as to the necessity of stopping piracy, but also the necessity of bringing back the state, a sort of a government to Somalia. And there you also have the jihadi forces. And we go back to square one, because if you want to engage in a stabilization operation in Somalia, you've got to, at the end of the day, have a multinational force, boots on the ground. And if you want to do so, how far will the Obama administration and other allies and democracies and less democracies consent to do in Somalia? I assume that the biggest, most challenging, emerging crisis, which probably began under the Bush administration as an issue, symbolically speaking and politically speaking, is going to be inherited by the Obama administration, and it may make the difference with the entire U.S. policy with regard to the region, with regard to Africa as well, since the end of the Cold War. And that is Darfur. I mean, we are talking about a genocide happening in Sudan, a genocide that has happened in the south, and a genocide that has been happening in Darfur against Africans. Blacks in the south are Christians and animists, and in Darfur they are black Muslims. Now, under an Obama administration, can we imagine that this can be done? That basically there will be a policy by the Obama administration that would allow this genocide to take place? That is the issue. So the question now is going to be, what is it? What kind of policies and how far can the Obama administration go in making sure there will be an international consensus of commitment on the ground, of reality, and of course at the international level to save Darfur, not just as a campaign in the newspapers, but in reality. So with all these crises that we've covered, and with the principle in mind that U.S. policy at the end of the day, as it was stated by previous administrations and the current administration, will have to take into consideration significantly the realities on the ground and essentially American values, international values of democracy. That is going to be the challenge, and there will be other sessions, and we're going to have other comments as well. Thank you.